I just love the music. I will be dancing behind it. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 47 of the Game Changers. I'm your host, Carla, joined by my wonderful co host, Hope. Today, we have an exceptional guest, Jennifer Piacenti. Before we dive into tonight's episode, I want to extend my sincere gratitude to Evan, Iggy, JC, and the whole TSA team for their invaluable support in providing us with this platform to engage with distinguished individuals within our community. Join us as we explore the lives and stories of our guests, uncovering their personal insights, experiences in fantasy football, and much more. The Game Changers is not your ordinary podcast. It has fostered a cherished community, and we are honored to share this journey with all of you this evening. Jennifer Piacenti is a prominent fantasy sport and betting analyst, currently contributing her expertise to Sports Illustrated. With a dynamic presence on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, Jennifer also hosts the popular podcast Waiver Wired on the Extra Point Network. Her insight extend to MLB Network's Better's Eye, and where she shares her knowledge on sports betting. Jennifer's journey into sports analysis is as diverse as it is impressive. Before diving into the world of fantasy sports, she had a successful career as a singer and actress. She performed with prestigious groups such as the New York City Opera, at Lincoln Center, at the New York Gilbert and Sullivan Players at City Center. Her regional performances included appearances at St. Louis Muni, Houston Grand Opera, and Wolf Trap National Park for the performing. In the realm of fantasy sports, Jennifer has published hundreds of articles and hosted numerous video segments for Sports Illustrated. She is a member of the Fantasy Sports Writer Association and has been a finalist in the 2020 Scottish Bowl, finishing third overall in the 2021 NFSBC NFL postseason mini. Additionally, she is part of a Steam Tout Wars Fantasy Baseball Expert League. Jennifer deep in the understanding of player ranking, draft strategies, and sleeper picks makes her a go-to expert for fantasy football enthusiasts. Her ability to blend her artistic background with her analytic skills sets her apart in the industry. I had to dig deep. This is not all. Found some fun facts and anecdotes about Jennifer, as she once served as a fit model for Spitfire Petite, a line of activewear designed for petite women. Her exact promotions and feedback helped the brand achieve a high level of perfection. She also describes herself as a weird New York Renaissance woman who does a little bit of everything, including singing, dancing, acting, and even kickboxing. Jennifer is also a yoga and Pilates lover and has been a member of the Porch Road team. Despite her busy schedule, she never gets bored and enjoys being involved in various creative and athletic pursuits. Jennifer Piacenti, there's more and more to know about you. What an impressive, biography. You are a woman of my dreams. How are you?
I am great. Thank you, ladies, for having me. As you figured out, I came to this fantasy football world in a roundabout way. I think everybody has their own journey, but the wonderful thing that we all have in common is that we all have a lot of fun and bond and get a lot of benefit from playing fantasy football. It's the silliest thing, but one of the greatest things I've ever done. I made a lot of great friends, and I think it's a wonderful, whether you do it professionally or you do it for a hobby. I started just doing it as a hobby, and it's just amazing where it can take you.
That's amazing. Thank you for being with us tonight. We appreciate that.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, Hope.
Hey, girl.
I have to admit, I've met, this is not my first time meeting Hope. Hope and I have had dinners in Miami together.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
and I get to now talk about Hope for just a second. She's also my personal stylist. And when I go to big events, she always makes me a custom shirt that looks so cool. So
good on you.
big Hope fan.
Yes.
This is something I don't even know. Okay, so you go from opera singer actress to prop princess. Take us on the journey of how you went from that to this now.
So really all that happened was, when you live in New York, your apartment's too small. So you can't hang out in your apartment. You got to go out and you got to meet people, and you're meeting people all the time. And so I would constantly meet people when I was at dinner. I would meet people at shows. They would come up to me afterward and speak to me. And one time I was in a show, and I had actually like a piece of fan mail come to me that said like, "Oh, I love you in the show. And by the way, I read in your bio," because I was the nerd that put in my bio that I played fantasy baseball, that you play fantasy baseball. And I wanted to see if you would join my fantasy baseball league with me as a co-manager. And I was like, okay, that's a little creepy, right? But then it turns out I looked him up, and he was actually on the boards of all these arts organizations, a really wonderful, classy man who I've become very good friends with, his entire family, his wife, his kids, his dogs, everyone. So he invites me to his fantasy baseball league, which ends up being this high stakes league with all hedge fund guys. I was the only girl walking into this room full of hedge fund guys, throwing money around, bidding on players, right? The full thing's catered. There's, TV screens everywhere. One of the coolest days of my life at that point. I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I really learned, like, on the fly. I was pretty good at playing fantasy in my spare time, but I learned on the fly, like, how to value, auction, how to bid, all of that. And when you start with baseball, football feels a lot simpler, because in football, you're focusing on offense. You've got 17 games. With baseball, you're focusing on defense, offense, 162 games, a lot more stat categories. So fantasy football, I actually enjoy so much more now. I don't play much fantasy baseball anymore. Fantasy football, that's the way to go.
Nice. It's a great story. I didn't know.
And then, of course, what happens is, because of my analytical mind, I'm sure you guys are all going to be surprised to hear this, I'm very competitive.
Not you.
Me? I like to win, and I like to find edges. And one of the puzzles I like to solve is, because I felt like I knew fantasy football, and I started to really understand like starts and sits, when I would go through the starts and sits with Howard Bender, but back when I was at Fantasy Alarm, and I started like digging deeper and really understanding the DFS and winning DFS contests. And I felt like when these betting markets came along, that I could find little pricing errors, and I could find pricing advantages here and there. And then it became a game for me, right? So it's like a game within a game. It's all gamified, but with the potential to win money. Yeah. And last year I had a very successful season, tracked all my bets at Sharp Rank. Was ranked number 1 on the leaderboard among about 450 sharps for 10 months. And we returned nearly 20% ROI on our bets. So we had a good year. We're crossing our fingers to keep that rolling. But when you love something, when you have fun doing it, like, look, this is kind of math and statistics, right? But it doesn't feel like it. It feels like fun.
I am so telling you, this season, so I don't get so upset when I lose my fantasy football teams. I'm gonna have a book. I already have my book. Hubby bought me a really beautiful book, and I'm gonna have a bank, and I'm gonna just do it. I'm gonna do it.
Track your bankroll, absolutely. And for those of you who can't, play player props, they now have options with Prize Picks, and those aren't quite as easy to win, because anytime you parlay, obviously it compounds the difficulty, and don't get too frustrated, but they are a great way to learn. So if you like to play, you can play. And as Hope knows, we play in a fantasy football league together, an all women's league. We even just double down every week and also do a DFS contest and invite other lady friends. Carla, if you could join us this year, we would love it. And we love the community and hanging out. And I've met some lovely ladies doing that. And we play a lot of games.
I do love the community, but my time is really crazy. And the time that you guys put into the drafting, it's insane. Kudos for you. Kudos for you for juggling all of this. But yeah, I can't.
Yeah, I'm drafted out. I got to tell you guys, I finished my last draft last night. It was an auction draft. It was a long one. I was getting a little fussy at the end. I was like, I'm hungry. Why do you guys keep bidding up at the last minute? Why do you need to spend $1 more on Terry McLaurin? Why did it take you 15 seconds to decide? You don't just $1 more on Terry McLaurin. Every second counts when I'm angry.
I know. I'm fast. I'm fast. I do it all fast. I pick fast. I don't waste
it. Fast, but yeah, the money betting is crazy.
I think women are fast. I think men are slow.
That is the case. That is 100% the case. I agree. Auctioning with men, and men are very slow. They wait. Like, I always say it like this when people talk about auction league. I'm like, I know how to go shopping. I know how to set a budget. I know what I'm going to spend up for. I know if it's worth paying out for the Louboutins. Okay.
Yep.
He's my Louboutin. I'm going to spend the money, and then I know a bargain when I see one, if I'm looking like Javonte Williams, something like that. He shouldn't be on fire sale. I'm going to grab that before somebody else does. So I always just say, like, I think women are good at it because we know how to put things together.
Just compare Javonte Williams to Christian Louboutin. You know that, right? Yeah. We just compare Javonte Williams to Christian Louboutin.
No, I prefer CD Lamb, to be fair. CD Lamb to Christian Louboutin.
Yeah, sure.
Javonte's more like, I would say Javonte's more like Theory.
So what shoe would Tyreek be? What brand?
Oh, Tyreek be? Well, Tyreek.
Brand of shoes.
Tyreek is a pretty good, it's going to have to be some kind of a.
I think he'd be Gucci.
He's way better than like a Michael Kors.
Higher than Gucci?
Chanel, Gucci.
Chanel's not Chanel. He's a little edgy, so maybe Balenciaga.
Balenciaga is a good one for Tyreek. Last time I went into a Balenciaga, I went there and I thought, who buys this?
Jen, Porsche Road Team. How did you become a member of the Porsche Road Team?
Oh, the Porsche Road Team. Well,
yeah.
So yeah, I'm into exotic cars, guys. I love exotic cars. So when I was in New York City, I just, I was doing things on the side. I was acting, and in between gigs, you would get bored and you would just like pick up extra work. And so there was a friend of mine passed along a casting, because it's always about castings, right? You go in and you send in your video or you whatever. I was constantly going to castings, and it was a casting for a Porsche Road Team. I didn't actually know it was for Porsche. It was for sporting car company. They didn't tell you. They don't tell you. And so I went, and I guess they had a whole lot of people. I just gave a video. I just stood in my, did the thing where I just stand. This was even before COVID. Stood in my living room and had my friend tape me, wore a dress, and said, "Hi, I'm Jennifer," and whatever. And I just got the job. And I think it was really fun because when I worked with the Porsche Road Team, I got to go all over the country and talk to people everywhere. So we'd go to Chicago for 2 weeks, and I would talk to people in Chicago. And much like when I was an actor and I traveled a lot, I got to travel all over America. I got to travel around Europe. It was just an experience. And I just think anytime you get to interact with people, you get smarter, you learn more, and you can make more educated decisions and better decisions for yourself. And I just loved it. I loved working for Porsche Road Team, and I got to wear a lot of cool hats, and I got gear, and I just put away my mug. I have my Porsche mug here. But now it's funny because now my favorite car is Ferrari. Now when I worked for Porsche, we would like
Porsche.
But Ferraris now are the ones that really turn my head.
Yeah, Rob had one. It was nice. I like the 911 Turbo better than the Ferrari.
The Ferraris, they're
the 911 Turbo to me is the hottest car in the road.
The 911 Turbo is a great car. And the Targa that they redid a few years ago,
I had a Targa. That's what I had.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the Ferraris, like I like the classics, like the 430s, the 430 Spider. That car still looks so sick, even though it's 20 years old. So
yeah,
cool.
Rob loves that one too.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice you can give someone interested in joining a like road team or car club?
If you wanted to work for, you kind of have to actually go through like an agency that works on staffing them. You wouldn't call like Ferrari, you wouldn't call Lamborghini. You would actually go to one of these agencies like Productions Plus, and they staff all the car companies. So like a product specialist isn't someone that works in the factory or works in corporate. There's somebody that studies all the data and then is on site anywhere they're having a party where they might display the car, and then you answer questions about the car for people and just talk about the car. I mean, it's a really fun, kind of easy job. You get to talk to people and you get to drive really cool cars, and like they force you to drive the cars. Like you have to drive all the cars. Ooh, terrible training.
That's how you decided that you loved Ferrari the most.
Yeah. I mean, you got to drive them all, and then you choose. So, I mean, it just depends on your driving experience. With the Ferrari, with the paddle shifters, you get a little bit more visceral. There's more naturally aspirated action there. The exhaust you can upgrade. Porsche's really good too. A little smoother. Obviously, you don't have to worry as much about the battery maintenance because they're now made by Audi. So, I mean, they're not really Audi, but it's like Lamborghini's kind of made by Audi. Same thing with Lambos. Love a Lambo too. I talk about this like, I'm some kind of
expert. Why not?
But, you can drive these if you go to a dealership. You can drive.
So if you want to take a road trip, in any Porsche model car, which one would it be and why? Talking about Porsche.
Well, if you were going to take a road trip, you're going to have to take either the, like the Macan. So you have like your, SUV and you have the room.
I like the small one.
Or you could take a Panamera, which is your sedan. You could, of course, take a 911 convertible. If it's just like me and you, like the two of us girls, we can you have to get your bag really small. Because remember, these are rear engine cars. You got a front trunk. Okay. And the mid-engine cars, you don't have much trunk. So you got to like really be able to fold everything up. Then you can take the convertible. Then you can take the 2-seater roadster.
Definitely worth a small purse, which I love anyway.
Totally worth a small purse. And you know what? Just one night you drive up the coast, the PCH, spend the night in San Francisco, drive back. That's the plan. That's what we're doing, ladies.
I want to know, when you were working with Turtle doing the waiver wire.
Yes, Jerry.
I want to know, who was your favorite athlete that you interviewed?
So, what's funny? We did not really interview athletes, Turtle and I. I've only done that on my own. I'm trying to think of if we had anybody really great on the show when he was there. Well, we had Cousin Sal.
Okay.
Who's the best. I
love
Cousin Sal.
I love Cousin Sal.
Jerry, by the way, was amazing to work with. It was really funny because when I got that job, I just got a call kind of out of the blue. Okay. And it was like, hey, do you want to do this job with, we thought about putting you on a fantasy football podcast and your co-host would be Jerry Ferrari. Would you be okay if he's the main host and you're the co-host? And I was like, yeah, I think I'll be able to handle that. Thank you. And so we'd never talked. And then we recorded our first podcast. And it was so easy. He was so easy to talk to. And it was funny because we got a lot of feedback. People assumed because I was an actor and he was an actor that we'd actually known each other a long time and decided to do a podcast. We were just thrown in the room, but he was very easy. He does whine too much about his Giants.
Yes.
You're watching, Jerry?
I heard him.
Yeah, he whines a lot about the Giants. And he hates the Cowboys, so obviously that's a fatal flaw. Who hates the Cowboys? Come on. Okay, everybody, except me, but still.
I don't hate the Cowboys.
Good.
I don't hate any team.
She makes good choice for them.
I mean, I honestly, I appreciate athletes and sports so much that it's like when I go to Dolphin games and I have my fantasy and I'm like rooting and we're playing the Jets or somebody and like I've had Breece Hall on my team, I'm like, yay! Oh, yay! Like and people like looking at me with my Dolphin shirt on. I appreciate athletes, so I don't hate any team.
I'm the same. Especially now that we all play fantasy football, right? We're all invested across.
You cannot hate any team. Yeah.
All the teams.
So
you
there's
can't
a
really
question. There's a question for you, Jen, from the audience. They're
okay.
asking, do you like baseball more or football? Anne is asking.
It's really, really hard to answer that question. It depends on when you ask me.
I think
I'm going to tell you I like football more because I have ennui about baseball. It's
you
long
love baseball
season, and I'm like, But when baseball season starts, I get so excited because it means it's spring. It means you can be outside, like happy. You know, there's that long wait, like after football's over, there's just like nothing. And for me, as a baseball lover, I'm like, this means summer. This means ice cream. This means like grill food. This means we're going to be outside. I get to stay up late, maybe see fireworks. So it's hard. I guess if I had to pick, I would say baseball.
I knew it.
But depends on when you ask me. Like I said, right now I'm not feeling it.
So, Jen, how did you get started as a fit model for a Spitfire Petite?
Okay, so that's a good one. Again, from various castings, I answered this casting call for this company that was like, we need fit models, and these are the measurements you need to be. Well, I am rather petite. I'm not tall, so I have never done runway modeling or anything like that, and I certainly don't have a face for being a model. But I had the right measurements for what they consider like a mannequin. So I would go in for Gap or Express, and they were going to build. Now everybody's building a petite line. So it was actually hard for them to find people that had the measurements of a taller person, but with the less height, vertically challenged version. So because I was like just over 5'2", they want that 5'2" mark. And so I would usually get in there. So 5'2", and then I had the 36 thing on. So.
Oh, poor thing. Poor thing. She has a perfect body. Poor Jen.
Not short.
You have a perfect body. You do. You have a beautiful, perfect body. I know. Because I know.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Yeah. You know what?
So how did you balance your
for a moment? Can I vent for half a second?
Of course.
I will say one thing that becomes difficult when you're a woman in the industry is when you're trying to deal with how to market your product and the balance of the physical part of it going before the mental part of it and how you address that. Because sometimes it's difficult to compete if you don't advertise that part and vice versa. So that is the biggest struggle for me in this industry is like being able to be respected just for your picks. And then, you know, the other stuff's great too. And unfortunately, you do have to claw a little bit harder because here's why. You're competing with a whole lot of really smart guys all the time. If you want to compete only with your brain, there's a lot of really smart guys out there. So it's tempting, I know, to sometimes worry too much about what we look like. So I have that balance of like, it's hard. Like, what do you do with marketing yourself when you're a woman?
You know what I noticed lately?
You guys are smart too.
I brought this up. I noticed lately, and it's really getting, you know how Twitter, all of a sudden, Twitter, all of a sudden has all kinds of sexy girls?
Yes.
Like a gazillion.
And they all give out bets.
Okay.
All of them.
You notice that they're all
over my feet.
But do you notice that they're all walking with their boobs shaking?
They all do that. And
now it's like a new trend. You know, like all of them, they're talking about sports. and their boobs are just jiggling.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this. It's every day I see it now. The only one that I liked was Paige, the golfer, because she's just so magnificent.
I know.
And her do it, being a professional, and just, I know she probably started that thing of just having the body and doing it, but now everyone's copying it, and it's like, now it's just really.
It's an interesting world.
I'm a booby
world to be in, to figure out how to remain competitive.
So I can understand where you're coming from, because I see what's happening. You know, these women, they're getting gazillions of followers, and they're getting asked to be on a million shows because they're jiggling their boobies. They're happy boobies. They don't even know what they're saying. No one's even listening.
And you know what the funny thing is? I think they're all really lovely ladies in real life.
Yep. I'm sure they do. And
I know how to market.
How did the transition from performing arts to sports analysis happen?
By accident, just because when I was performing and then I started doing the league I was telling you about, the auctioneer at that league was actually a tout, and he invited me to watch a draft at SiriusXM.
Yeah.
And then when I was at XM, I kind of like met some people. I met somebody who was like, hey, do you want to be on TV? It was a really, again, this was a very New York experience. It's one of the unique things about living in the city. You just meet people, you end up having a burger with them in a group afterward. And then next thing you know, you get an email and say, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And it just happened. And then, especially like with COVID and everything, there were no theaters, there were no auditions. But there was still work that you could do, live streams. Sports did kind of start back. And so like, it was just an opportunity. And I just was very, very blessed to have a few things kind of happen for me. And I think that happened also because I had just a little bit more comfort being on screen and speaking with people because of my background. So when they started to try to get fantasy football more visual and audio and all that started to take off with podcasts and TV and the Fantasy Sports Channel, I think they just asked me because they thought it might not be that big of a leap. And I remember the first time I was asked to be on TV, it was with Nando DeFino. Those of you in the industry know Nando because he's one of the greatest. Like, he is the GOAT.
He's nice.
And Adam Ronis. So I'm like, you're going to put me on TV with Ronis the ponytail? Okay, first of all, that guy is so smart. He's going to make me feel like a total dumb ditzy blonde. There is no way. I was so scared. I was like at home, like writing note cards and memorizing like strikeouts per 9 and like, oh my God, is it Cam Bedrosian? Who's going to be the closer for the Angels? So we get to the TV thing. Adam Ronis is the nicest dude you guys will ever meet. He is so cool. He's one of my favorite human beings on the planet. He is so smart and so cool and a lot of fun. And he is a competitor like you've never met before. He is a wonderful colleague. So I cannot speak highly enough. And I got to tell you, my anxiety was totally misplaced.
Wow. Adam sniped me last night. He sniped me 5 times in our draft.
He's so, yeah. And when you get sniped, and he used to get mad at me. Like, I would put in like a claim and he would like say message, be like, oh, I forgot you're an Astros fan. Of course you outbid me for Charlie Morton. And I was like, yeah. But it's all in love.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What are some common mistakes people make in fantasy sports, and how can they avoid them, in your opinion?
So, okay, first of all, one mistake you make in fantasy sports is getting too emotionally committed to one player. And I know that we all fall in love with our breakouts and all that kind of stuff, but sometimes you just have to know when to cut bait if you really want to win. Okay, so that's one thing. The second mistake a lot of times we make in fantasy sports is we just want to roster guys on our team. You want to look outside your world. You got to look outside. You also need to look at analytics that don't validate what you think. So if you think Garrett Wilson's going to break out, I do. I need to also read the counter side of that. Why isn't Garrett Wilson going to break out? And then I need to go back and say, okay, now how do I really feel? Don't just completely blindly trust an analyst, and then don't go blame that analyst when they're wrong. You still have to make your own decisions.
I agree. You have to follow your own decision. I agree with that.
And the other thing is, in a draft that I think people don't do, I think they forget to step back and look at their team and build their team, zoom out. I think they get too zoomed in. What's the best thing for this round? What's the best thing for this round? What's the ADP? Just 100%. Zoom out. Build your team. You have to live with your team for the whole season. Sure, you can keep an eye on this person, maybe this person, whatever. But really, just build your beautiful team. If you fall in love with your team, you'd be surprised how well your team plays for you. I'm telling you.
I agree with that. I agree with that. And I'm guilty of every single thing that you just said.
So am I. That's why I can point it out.
But on the Garrett Wilson thing, my brain does think about that. My brain does go like everyone has him ranked in this position because he's with Aaron Rodgers and because he's the talent that he is and because they have a good O-line and because their defense, like all of the reasons why that you want to draft him in the first round. But then you also have, I had him last year in 4 leagues.
It was disappointing.
And you have to, not that you could say this about everyone with injuries, but Aaron Rodgers is older and Aaron Rodgers did get hurt right away. And what happens again, if it happens right away and we're taking him, 10 overall like that, we're in trouble.
Well, I have answers to all of those because I asked all the same questions. I don't know if anybody cares, but
I do.
I will tell you. Okay, first of all, no player had a higher air yard share in all of NFL than Garrett Wilson. 46% of the team's air yards. Now let's go back to what we're talking about, Aaron Rodgers. First of all, he is not injury prone. That was a freak injury. In his career, not injury prone, very healthy. We know he had state-of-the-art surgery, all of that jazz. It's been more than a year. His Achilles is not the same Achilles that Kirk Cousins injured. I am more concerned about Kirk Cousins. Okay, it's not his power drive foot that he injured. Should be fine. He did play poorly in his last year in Green Bay. Guess who he was without? Nathaniel Hackett and Devontae Adams. He also had a broken thumb for half the season. Now, I am more concerned about his age than his ability. I think there's definitely going to be rust. I'm not taking the Jets to win this weekend. But all the signs are there for Garrett Wilson. He's got the air yard share. He's got no competition. We know that Aaron Rodgers just peppers his number one target, usually 10 or more targets per game for his number one guy. On top of that, a career 6.2% touchdown rate. That's higher than Patrick Mahomes. That's higher than Tom Brady. That's higher than Dak Prescott. That is incredible. He can get it done in the red zone. The Jets could not get it done in the red zone last year. And in addition to that, he had like the 7th fewest catchable passes the Jets threw last year. I mean, the quarterback play was subpar, and it was so subpar that in the previous season, he had 21 fewer targets and still had like 150 more yards, and he still had crappy quarterback play. So I just don't see how Aaron Rodgers isn't an upgrade. Now, should he be going at 10th overall? Maybe not. But that's impressive.
That was my only thing.
It's impressive, right? It's where he's taking it because we believe he's a breakout, but everybody's buying it too. I don't think he should be going ahead of AJ Brown, and he is.
Okay.
But if you really believe, like, I think there's a much more of a case for him to break out than for him to fail. And if you're going to put your eggs in a basket, like a lot of us believe Bijan, I mean, I don't think there's any more of a case for Bijan than Garrett Wilson. We're taking Bijan 3rd, 4th.
Right. True.
So, it's all about risk tolerance. I definitely have quite a few teams with Garrett Wilson. I did not take him to make sure I wasn't overexposed.
Yeah, I got two Garretts. I had to get some.
Have to.
So what are your top 3 tips for drafting a winning fantasy football team?
I would say know your room. So know who you're drafting with and what their tendencies are. Know how sharp you need to be. how early do you need to take a quarterback? I draft really differently when I'm drafting in my home league than when I'm drafting with Michael Fabiano and Lindsey Rhodes and Bob Harris.
That was a tough draft.
Totally different situation. Everybody was tough in that draft. The listeners in that listener league are sharp.
Yeah.
So I had to treat that like a sharp league.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say is know your guys and don't be afraid to get them. So don't be enslaved to ADP. So what? So what if you take so-and-so a round earlier and ESPN says you failed? What do they know? They don't know. They're a computer. You got to have a team you like. So get your guys. You need to have fun. That's the most important thing.
Yep.
So that's another piece of advice. Third tip would probably be just don't take it too seriously. Yes, you want to win, but if fantasy football gets to the point where you're getting so mad that you're not enjoying watching football and you're throwing things at the TV and your loved one wants to kick you out and not spend the weekends with you, you might be taking it too seriously. So take a step back and remember that we're all doing this for fun. And actually, it's kind of fun if you finish in last place and then you get to be the person that goes viral because you had to sit at Denny's for 24 hours and eat 74,000 pancakes.
I hate
That's a good one.
being in the toilet bowl. There's something really, when you see that you made it to the toilet bowl,
It's kind of
makes you sad.
It does kind of make me sad. Have you ever actually finished dead last in a league? I'm not. I actually haven't. I mean, like I just said that, and I'm sure I will in our women's league now.
No, but there's still toilet bowls. You still are.
Oh, I hate the toilet bowls. When
I'm
they
saying,
divide it in half.
if you're not dead, yeah. If you're the last couple, you end up playing against in the toilet bowl.
You know what's really weird too, and what's really annoying is when you think you've made the playoffs, and then some commissioner like Michael Fabiano goes back after the fact and says, no, actually, the 5th seed and the 6th seed have decided it's going to be points over wins over blah, 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 blah. And you're like, what? When was this decided? Yeah, I was in on wins. I've been counting to be in. Now I'm not in. This person that couldn't win a game that I beat. What's happening?
I would be mad still. Are you still mad?
Yeah,
You are. Yeah, you are. You're still mad.
I wasn't very competitive.
I remember last year when that happened to you.
She's competitive, so she's definitely mad.
Waivers in reverse order of standing because I don't like punishing the people that are successful. And when you're leading, you can never get anybody on the waiver wire, and then all the people that have crappy teams end up winning in the end by the time playoffs come. It's really frustrating.
What I don't like
This is ridiculous. You cannot change that.
What I don't like is when that the league is not fab. That you have.
I know, because fab is fair. If you do it by bidding,
it's fab.
Fair. You're willing to spend more, you get the player. You're not, you don't.
Name fab. He should have fab.
He won't do fab. It's too much work. I tried.
So,
really mad at me when I bring it up, like really mad.
Jen, which player or players do you think are undervalued in this year's fantasy draft?
Well, there's a lot of them. Until recently, I think DK Metcalf was well undervalued, but I think that that's kind of caught up a little bit. I think that we're undervaluing the Seahawks offense in general because we're kind of stuck with that Pete Carroll idea, but it's going to be very different with Ryan Grubb. So I think DK Metcalf is undervalued. I kind of think Ken Walker is too. You know, he's kind of going a little later than he should. I think Terry McLaurin is undervalued, and I understand why. You know, it seems like it should have broken out by now, but this guy has had the worst luck when it comes to quarterbacks. And he's the clear alpha there. And, you know, we've got Cliff Kingsbury in town now. I think that I'm like trying to read these like chats. They're like going so fast. I love how active these people are. It's so great. I'm missing it. Hey, everybody, if you're saying hi. So I think Terry McLaurin's undervalued. I think Javonte Williams is undervalued, as I mentioned in my shoe analogy earlier. Again, because we have this bad memory of the Broncos offense, but I think Bo Nix is going to be a little better than we expect. And no team targeted their running backs more than the Denver Broncos last year. And sure, some of that was dump offs from Russell Wilson, but you guys remember Alvin Kamara?
Yeah.
So, you know, we have a template here. So like Javonte Williams there. think he's undervalued. Rashee Rice remains undervalued because people are concerned about the suspension. I don't really have concerns about that anymore. I think Jalen Waddle's undervalued. I have a lot of Jalen Waddle.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's quite a few players that I think are undervalued. And
Sutton.
I love that. I love sleepers.
Sutton.
Favorite part. Get in there and get them out.
Sutton.
For sleepers, if you had to pick like one sleeper and one bust for this fantasy football of yours right now, who would they be?
Okay, sleeper pick. Who's my favorite sleeper pick? Oh, I'm going through my list. Kind of random, maybe. I'll go really deep. Okay, this is really deep. I'm gonna go Brendan Rice.
I saw you drafted him.
I'm gonna go Brendan Rice. This is really deep, and this can totally fail, but we're going to here. I'm going Brendan Rice, and not only is he, first of all, he's Jerry Rice's son, so we can just, right there. But second, he was running with Josh Palmer in preseason on the outside, and the one thing that we know about Greg Roman's offense is he likes to work strong offensive line, right? Strong run game, tight end. Hayden Hurst, sleeper tight end.
Yep.
Sleeper.
Great.
And then a deep threat. It's
Yep.
probably going to be Joshua Palmer, could be DJ Chark, but Jerry Rice's son, you never know. I don't think it's going to be Quentin Johnson, unfortunately, as much as I would love for it to be. I think he was misused in the past. I'm a TCU frog, but if you're taking the last shot in a drop, Andre
Josephus.
Another one I like really late. I like Greg Dortch really late, right? I mean, when he's been on the field, he's been used a lot. I mean, we're all in on Trey McBride. Why couldn't
Dortch.
Greg Dortch, right? You're going to get last pick of the draft.
Dortch.
Michael Wilson Jr. Okay, now I'm talking about too many. I went too far. I'm sorry. I apologize. I have lots of sleeper articles at Sports Illustrated.
My favorite sleeper is Deontay Johnson.
Deontay Johnson. So I was going deeper than that. I agree. I think Deontay Johnson will definitely, I think he has the possibility to finish like top 12.
Me too. Love me some Deontay Baker.
Yep. Good. And that's great value, right? So that's like when you go into an auction league, you can plan like, nobody's going to spend more than $20 or whatever you think your number is based on your budget on Deontay Johnson. I'm just going to plan. I'm going to pencil him in to my budget. Right. Like I knew I wasn't going to spend up for CeeDee Lamb last night. I have CeeDee Lamb on other teams. I knew he was going to go for $50. I was like penciling in DK. I'll go up to, I got him for 37. I think DK might be just as good as Garrett Wilson. He might be just as good as AJ Brown. That's possible. He's a touchdown monster. His touchdown prop is set 8.5 in Vegas. That's high.
Yeah. I like JSN also.
Yeah. I really think that Seattle Seahawks offense is going to offer us value. I have Geno Smith as like my third quarterback. And for instance, Scott Fishbowl. Oh, you know how lucky I got? I got really lucky this year. Guys, I drafted Kyron. I have one share of Kyron Williams. One. And I got it in Fishbowl.
Nice.
Can you believe that? If he's really returning punch.
I can't wait to see who really is going to be the returners because we don't know.
I think it's going to be more running backs than wide receivers personally. That's my personal feeling. I was trying to figure out how it would work, and I think it's going to be more about, well, it depends on how they play, but I think it's going to be a lot about finding holes.
Both.
And not about just like who's fast.
Because I was reading about Malik Washington from the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
I was following this Dolphin insider that knows some stuff, and he's like, you should see Malik. They're going to have him, return punts and stuff. So I'm like, okay.
Pick him up in the bowl.
I did.
Yeah.
So, Jen, what inspired you to start the Waiver Wired podcast?
So the Waiver Wired, again, it started actually with Jerry. It was called Ben and Jerry's Waiver Wired.
Really?
Jen and Jerry's Waiver Wired, excuse me. I'm playing on Ben and Jerry.
The ice cream?
Yeah, and we had like a cute little logo, which was probably totally illegal. Yes, I like Gray Davis, Bonnie. I do. Yes, thumbs up. So that was actually, I was put together by like cousin Sal put us on a podcast together. I've been very fortunate, I have to say, guys. Just blessed. I really believe in positive energy and doing what you love and being kind to people. I know I can always be more kind and more generous because people have always been so kind and so generous with me. And as much as I was saying it's difficult, it's hard to be a woman and know how to market yourself, the truth is we also have a huge advantage because men actually like talking with women that know about sports. They don't hate that. That's a false narrative.
They like it.
I love it. It's
My
cool.
husband's
Fun. Why not?
He said he was excited when I talk about sports.
100%. Who doesn't want to like go to the bar like your husband, your friend's wife also knows about the team? Everybody's having more fun.
Yeah.
So I think there's a absolute open arms for women in this industry, and I think it's okay for women to be women. I don't think women have to act like dudes. Just be who you are, and if you love it, you love it. And I think it's great. So I have been fortunate in that way because I have been welcomed in, and I have had a lot of people be very kind to me and reach out to me. And I hope to always return that favor as much as possible to anyone around me. And I appreciate the kindness of you guys inviting me on this podcast.
Oh, we love you.
We love you.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate you.
My pleasure.
So, SiriusXM, what got you into SiriusXM?
So SiriusXM, this was amazing. When I worked at Fantasy Alarm, which again, Rick Wolf, who was the president of Fantasy Alarm, reached out to me because he knew me because we played in a fantasy baseball league in New York City with all other experts and me. And so he knew I loved baseball, and he said, hey, do you ever give fantasy football advice? And I said, I play fantasy football, but I don't like give advice. I don't know how I started doing this with baseball. It was an accident. I don't know how this happened. And he's like, just try. You're going to meet with Howard Bender. I'll have Bender. So Bender calls me. Bender and I hit it off. We have a great time. We do the live stream. A week later, I get a call from McQuote, and he's like, hey, so we're going to add another show for Fantasy Alarm. It's called Alarm After Hours, and we're going to give you one. And I was like, so I had a show once a week on SiriusXM, and then after that, SiriusXM offered me a contract to work with them. And so right now I just don't have a regular show on Sirius, but I hop around and fill in, like hosting the fishbowl draft, or hop in on Sundays or Saturdays and co-host. So it was fortunate, and I just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
I do believe I met Rick Wolf at the Fishbowl in Boston. He's a great person. He's amazing.
Wonderful. I always call him the mayor because anytime that we're at an event, he's like buying everybody drinks and introducing everybody. So I was such
an amazing guy. Yeah, he was talking about his family, talking about people, and he's so down to earth. So I got the pleasure to meet him at the Fishbowl in Boston. So it was such an amazing event when it was there. So tell me about the winnings for Fishbowl for 2020 and then the 2021. So what happened there?
Yeah, I made it to the finals in 2020. I made it to the playoffs in 2020. You know what? I just happened to draft well. Fortunate. You do the best work you can, especially when you're drafting in that draft, because quirks, tight end premium, and this and that, and you're doing it in July. Like what?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just stuck to my projections. I don't even formally do projections, but I have who I like and what I want. And I always think about the puzzle and how the puzzle fits together. So I never think about, I just want this guy or this guy. Like if I get this guy, then I could get this guy, and then this piece will work. So I always think about putting together a puzzle. And as I'm building my team, I like to have all the picture, the end picture that I want. It doesn't always work out, but at least I like my team most of the time, except for those few times I have to turn it on auto draft because I'm too hungry and I have to go get a snack. But we've already discussed my hanger issues, so
you're going soon to dinner, right? You're going to dinner.
Yeah, I have like 8 minutes and then I have to go to, no, I do. It's funny. I get like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm Italian. I have to eat all the time.
I want to know, how's your golf and tennis going?
Oh, it's such a good question. I have not played golf recently and I need to get back into it, and I plan to get back into it. But I have been playing tennis. I've been working on my serve, and so it's coming along and I'm absolutely loving it. Just picking up the sport as an adult has been challenging, but also rewarding. So when I grew up, I was a dancer. I was in the ballet studio, 5 days, 6 days a week. I was with the dance company. I was tap dancing. And so that's very different than playing a competitive sport. So there are some things that are in common, like I'm vaguely coordinated and that kind of stuff. But, when I became an adult and I started just working out, lifting weights and kickboxing and doing things like that, I thought maybe I should try to actually, play a sport. And so, organized sports are kind of out when you're older. So tennis and golf it was. And I thought I would not enjoy it, but I love it, especially golf. Like I can just go to the driving range and just over and over and over again. It's so zen. So Dad, I'm sorry. I made fun of you all those years, Dad. I apologize formally. Golf is awesome. I get why you want to go to the golf course. I get it.
Hope was asking you about something, and Greg and I were thinking the same thing when you said that you were playing tennis. So he's asking about pickleball.
Do you not play pickleball?
Do you play pickleball as well with the tennis?
I'm a pickleball snob. I don't play pickleball because I'm just learning how to play tennis and I'm doing it for like exercise. So I'm like such a snob. I'm like, no. In fact, I've had some friends be like, you have to play pickleball. It's so easy. I'm like, well, if it's easy, then I don't want to do it now, do I? No.
Tennis, play tennis.
Everywhere. It's everywhere right now.
Play tennis.
Why would I want to do something that's easy, Scott?
No. Play tennis. Learn tennis first.
Tennis is hard.
Play tennis. I grew up playing tennis every day.
I hope you want to take that question from Anne.
Pardon?
You want to take that question from Anne?
Bucket list item. I would like to go to a Super Bowl. I've never done that. Does that count?
Yes.
I've been to a World Series. I've been to a few World Series. I have not been to a Super Bowl. Like I've been to the Super Bowl. I've done my podcast live from the Super Bowl, but I haven't been to the actual game.
That's nice. That would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I had the press pass, but I didn't get to go to the game. It's like that's just
that would have pissed me off.
Yeah, it was a bummer. So I'd like to actually see a Super Bowl.
Did you meet anybody when you were doing that?
Yeah, I met like Nina Kimes. I met, I met Colin Cowherd, a few different people when I did that.
Was anybody super, super nice?
Was anybody super nice? Actually, Garrett Wilson. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I
really
asked him a few questions, and I remember thinking that I was going to be a fan of his because he was so classy and elegant and kind. And I just thought, oh, I love this kid. He's just great. He's just great. I'm a fan. So maybe that's part of why I'm.
It's in your head. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's like, in your head. Like you can't even. It's subliminal.
Really nice. You guys are going to be surprised to hear this. T.O. So I had to do some interviews with T.O., like a few interviews with T.O. And as time went on, these interviews, they were supposed to be like 5 interviews, ended up being like 20, 25-minute interviews where he would tell me about his daughter and all of these things. And like, he was actually really nice and really cool. And I actually grew to really like him. And actually Brian Urlacher, also really cool. So yeah, I have to say generally, Troy Aikman was nice when I got to interview him. We had a really good talk. Generally, most people have been nice. A few athletes I have interviewed are clearly there just because they have to interview and they want to get in and out. But those that I mentioned were lots of fun and seemed to be really present when I spoke with them.
That's cool. That's really nice. How did you become a member of Tout Wars? And what does it mean to you to be part of such a prestigious league?
And Tout Wars was an invitation-only league, and I was an original Tout Wars stalker. Like when I was just a fan, I would like find out where they were drafting. This is so true. It's like so nerdy, okay? And so I know that's kind of how everybody figured out who I was, because I was like the weird blonde girl that would like show up to the ballroom where the experts were drafting in New York City and stand in the back and take notes. I'm not joking.
I love it.
I mean, like, you can ask Jeff Erickson, he will like, and Scott Engel, and they'll be like, yeah, she did that. Yeah, and so basically they all they'd be like, who's that girl? So they figured out who I was. And the next thing you know, I was, becoming friends with them. And so a few years later, I did get the official invitation. I remember thinking, when are they going to invite me? Are they ever going to invite me? I was like working for Fantasy Alarm. And I was like, finally, I got the invite. Finally, what I have to do, man. So yeah.
Any memorable moment you have?
With Tout Wars?
Yes.
I mean, my first season, I finished. The thing is, they used to create a new league that I was in, so it was like innings pitched versus starts and holds plus saves, and it was all tricky and weird. And I just remember like being so happy that I finished in 4th place. I was like, because I was trying to figure out the new thing, and everybody is so sharp. I mean, guys, fantasy baseball players are insanely smart. They're like, yeah, it's really hard. You're not getting much of an advantage, except for in the fact that where I always do better is in auctions, because again, snake drafts, people know who's going to go in what round. They can plan for that. Auctions, there's just so much so many things that can happen where you can gain an advantage. And that's why I like them. Because you can just create edges. There's ways to create edges. That's all I'm going to say.
Jen, we know that you want to leave early. I have one question for you. So
Sure.
People wait for that question. Can you share a secret with us that nobody ever, you didn't share it with anyone else outside? Mel will be waiting for that question. So a secret you never like shared it, and you just want to bring it to the open tonight on the show. Something that maybe you did when you were a teenager, maybe, or maybe a little kid, and you never shared it before with anyone, and you would love to share it with the Game Changers tonight.
I don't know if this counts as never sharing with anyone, because we were actually in the Dallas Morning News for this.
Okay.
But God, when I was like 9, my parents and my extended family decided they wanted to do this thing about spoon hanging on faces, and I was able to hang like 10 spoons on my little kid face. And yeah,
Wow.
this is not a joke. And so they submitted these photos to the Dallas Morning News, and they came out and they shot these photos of me and my brother with spoons on our face, and like my little baby brother sitting on my lap with like 1 spoon on his nose, and I had like 10 spoons. And then we like got in the New Year's Eve edition, like one of the most interesting people of the year front page.
Spoon face. So you're spoon face.
Jen, you're gonna share the picture and you're gonna tag at the Game Changer.
Might be lost. Might have been set on fire.
Yeah, I think the
secret.
I should have come up with a secret. Here's a secret. I have a Barbie doll collection still at home in my mom's closet, still in boxes of Barbie dolls that had the most beautiful dresses, because I was obsessed with beautiful dresses. And my grandmother used to hand make all the dresses for me. She would like crochet them. So I had all the handmade ones, and they were like my grandmother. So they're very valuable to me, with like intricate lace and everything. Those. And then I had all, as I got older, even in college, I would go on eBay and I would buy like 25th edition glam Barbie with like all the dresses, because even when I was singing opera, my favorite part was to go get the gown, like the big red gown with the bustle and the whole thing. And I guess people don't do that anymore, but I do love a good ball gown.
I used to chop my Barbie dolls up.
Really?
My dad was the manager of a Playworld toy store. He would bring me home the big Barbie doll displays that you would see in the store that had like 100 Barbie dolls in it, and he would bring them home to me, and I would take each Barbie doll and I would cut their clothes and I would cut their hair, and I would make them all.
You'd
But
probably make them look cooler than they did. I always hated like the in-store clothes like that they came in. Like I thought they were like cheap because my grandmother would make these like Spanish dresses with the big ruffles and the gorgeous. I mean, they were just so beautiful. And she would crochet the like sexy red slip-on, and then I just anyway. I know.
I love it.
Yeah, my grandma used to crochet too, so I love that. I would love to see that. It's amazing. Hope, would you like to say something?
Yeah, so this is going to be my last podcast. I'm going to miss everybody. My work it's so busy right now. I had someone that quit on me, and I've been working, and I'm tired, and I feel like at right this moment I can't commit to being on the show and giving it my all. So I just thank you everybody who came and supported me, and I love all of you guys. Thank you so much.
I'm honored to be here for your last episode.
Thank you.
Before we conclude, Jennifer, could you please let our audience know how they can connect with you and where to find you on social media?
Yes, I am at Jen Piacenti, JenPiacenti on Twitter and on Instagram. You can follow me there. There might be some cool stuff happening over there this season too. And of course, read my stuff at Sports Illustrated.
Of course,
definitely. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Game Changers. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Jennifer Piacenti and gained valuable insights into her world and the world of fantasy football. A special thanks to our guest for sharing her experience, life lessons, and wisdom with us. Join us for the next episode of the Game Changers on Wednesday, September 11th, when I welcome Ronnie Evan as my special guest. I also want to express my gratitude to Evan Iggy JC and the TSA team for their continued support, for providing us with this exceptional platform to share our authentic stories and experiences. A special acknowledgement goes to JC for his invaluable contribution behind the scenes. Your efforts are deeply appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more viewers like you. Follow us on social media and to stay updated on upcoming episodes, or join our community at the Sports Affiliation. Until next time, keep challenging the game and making your mark. This is Carla and Hope and Miss Jennifer Piacenti signing off. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you so much.
Night.